Please be seated.
President, and good evening, everyone. First of all, from the very depth of my heart, I would like to welcome all of you who are attending this wonderful and precious Columbus KTC Dharmic event in person, as well as those of you who are attending online through Zoom. By the unsurpassable blessings and the unconditional compassion of the three roots and three ratna in general, and by the unsurpassable blessing and the unconditional compassion of the precious Kagyu Gurus, such as His Holiness the 17th Gyalwang Karmapa in particular, may the sacred Dharmic event of these 4 evenings, including today, we will have 4 evenings, be a perfect medicine that can completely cure the unbearable sickness of samsara, known as the 3 poisons or 5 poisons. I would like to take a few moments to make sure we have a peaceful mind and the correct motivation for tonight's talk. So let us do some meditation now on what we call the excellent beginning of precious bodhicitta. Those of you, if there's any people who are not particularly Buddhist practitioners, then you can meditate on whatever you like. Just make sure that we have a very peaceful mind and good motivation. And this is called in Jorwa Sangye Thamba in Tibetan, and it literally means engendering the sublime bodhicitta as the preparation. We have something called Thamba Sum in Tibetan, which has been translated into English in many different ways. Some say the 3 supreme methods, and some say 3 noble principles, and some say the 3 excellences. Anyway, I usually use the last one, the 3 excellences. When we use this terminology, the 3 excellences for the Tibetan word Dhampasum, they are the excellent beginning of bodhicitta on Jorwa Samgye Thamba, if any of you know Tibetan, and the excellent main practice of non-conceptuality, which you say Ngöshi Mingme Thamba in Tibetan, and the excellent conclusion of the dedication, Jungwa Thamba. These are the 3 things that make a huge difference in our Dharma practice and in any kind of wholesome activities that we perform in our everyday life from the Mahayana point of view. Without the 3 excellence, no matter how great the virtuous activities and Dharma practice might seem, they all become merely a way of bringing temporary happiness and peace for only ourselves, and they can never be the path of Bodhisattva Yana. Therefore, There can never be a practice of the superior individual. But on the other hand, with the three excellences, no matter how small they might be, any Dharma practice we do and any virtuous deed we perform turns into a genuine cause for our ultimate destination, Buddhahood. And of course, they become a genuine cause for the benefits of countless other sentient beings as well. Therefore, we should, from the Buddhist point of view again, always try to embrace the three excellences whenever we practice the sacred Dharma and whenever we perform any wholesome activities. So please sit properly and comfortably, no matter wherever you are sitting right now, on the floor or on a chair or anywhere else. It doesn't really matter. Wherever you are sitting, as long as you are sitting properly and comfortably. One thing that we should pay attention to when we are sitting in a Buddhist shrine, room, or in front of Buddhist altar is that we should never stretch out our feet towards anything that represents one of the three roots and the three ratnas, such as the statue of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Dharma books, stupas, and so on, if you have already taken the Buddhist lavish vow. Because stretching, right? Stretching. Sometimes I get doubtful for my own pronunciation. Stretching out our feet towards them is regarded as a sign of disrespect to them in Buddhist tradition, and being disrespectful to them is against the commitment that we have received when we took the refuge vow in Buddhist tradition. After sitting properly and comfortably, please meditate on bodhicitta, mainly focusing on relative bodhicitta this time, thinking of all sentient beings as your parents and remembering their great kindness. I'm strictly talking about the Mahayana Buddhist point of view. So if you are a follower of some other thing, then that's not necessary for you. Then you can just meditate whatever brings your mind more peaceful, you can use that method. From the Mahayana Buddhist point of view, all of them, all the sentient beings, have already been our parents for countless lives in the past. Therefore, none of them are different from our present parents who are so kind to us and who care so much for us with a great kindness. Therefore, all sentient beings really are our parents, and they definitely deserve our love and compassion. That's why we need to do some meditation on bodhicitta, thinking of their kindness. Okay, let's start meditation right after I ring the gong. Okay, I think that's enough. When you are doing a personal practice, then you can meditate on bodhicitta as long as you want, maybe a whole day also. But when you're doing teaching, then we keep moving. So I think that's enough for the time being. Okay, now I will pay my personal homage to the Three Ratna and to my gurus by chanting some verses both in Sanskrit and Tibetan before I start talking, so my talk will be embraced by the unsurpassable blessings of them, and hopefully whatever I say tonight will be beneficial to those who hear it. I know it is kind of public talk tonight. Nevertheless, I want everyone to be happy and joyful, so they need blessing. Okay, now I'm going to do some chanting in Sanskrit and Tibetan. You don't have to join that. Buddham gacchami sharanam yavatta bodhimandradam. Dharmam gacchami sharanam bodhisattvanganam tatha. Namda Zudram Sagi Sajin, Tenzin Pamer Lim Kubensi, Sharami Denave Chugunsa, Tubjo Dungun Jumla Chansa Lo, Medonda Zen Pemen Laman, Tube Jangan Dawa Shuna Yo, Karen Tudun Kelon Sosendo, Gavilung Den Yola Chansa Lo, Yimenya Dan Pema Karaso, Tosun Gavilung Yang Abai, Namde Zume Yawan Karma Ba, Orgin Trin Dorje Shamlando, Mejun Togen Samon Gugun, Nikdon Rola Lakbaran Tusewa, Dorje Shamon, Shamon Shugi, Pema Toyan Drebe Shamlando, Ningbo Tinki, Tempan Peveche, Dawa Shuna, Drebe Kurshan Bang, Hakiwan Shunda Velan Soisham, Lama Dawa Sambo Shamlando, Kapan Tajan Namki, Kapjumbo, Yawa Kule Katrin Labengo, Lapsun Zoje Tenshi, Shugi Jing, Adun Shuyi, Yime Dado Yon, Dada Sumjen Tamjiki, Gyusinge Labdo So, Lujen Kunye Shadane, Shindang Wazan Tamjeda, Namka Legen Shuginda, Gimme Shaban Parasho. Even though most of you are a very senior Buddhist practitioner, you don't really need teaching from a person like me. But nevertheless, I have been invited here, so it's my duty to say something. So I'm going to try my best. And also, this is my first time to be here as a teacher. I have been here many times already, you all know, but not as a teacher. So it is a good connection if I start from the very beginning of Buddhism. So I'm going to speak a little bit, starting with the short biography of Shakyamuni Buddha in a very concise way, and then also what Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are. And then if we have enough time, then what is a little different between the Buddhism and the other religion and so forth. So I'm going to start. And then what I want to say, I have already written down. So basically, I'm going to read what I have written. Because if I write them in advance, then I can check the correct word in dictionary here, then from the Tibetan word. That's why I did that. Now, all I have to pay attention is to make a good pronunciation. Okay? Okay. I am going to speak starting with a short biography of the Shakyamuni Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, and I will do a short introduction of the Three Ratna. Three Ratna, I use just Sanskrit word. Usually we say three jewels in English, as a basic Buddhist introduction. So, first of all, of course, the founder of Buddhism is the historical Buddha, the Buddha Shakyamuni, as well as as we all know him. And then he was born in Nepal. If he's still alive, maybe he's carrying Nepalese passport to come to here, like myself. I'm from Kathmandu too. No. Anyway, now to mention a little bit about him, almost 2,600 years ago, in the Garden of Lubini at the foothills of Himalayan, which is located in present-day southern Nepal, our great teacher, our peerless guide, the historical Buddha was born as a prince of Shakya clan. The prince was named Siddhartha. His father was King Shuddhodana, and his mother was Queen Maya Devi, also known as Mahamaya. As a young prince, Siddhartha was fully educated and mastered the arts and sciences of his day. Prince Siddhartha married Yashodhara and engaged in the pleasures of the world. He had everything that he could wish for, and until his late 20s, he continued to enjoy the comforts of the palaces and the varieties of the wealth the royal lifestyle afforded him. Nevertheless, he was not happy to satisfy with what he had because he realized that everything is impermanent, including one's own body, and that there is no everlasting happiness in the world. So for me, this is the first teaching of Buddha, because this is indicating us very clearly the shortcoming of samsara. There is no happiness, no matter who you are, what you have. That's why for me, this is the first teaching and very profound teaching. Okay, so let me keep reading what I have written here. Okay, so, and there is no everlasting happiness in the world, regardless of who you are and what you have. Therefore, after the birth of his son, Rahula, Prince Siddhartha left behind his beautiful wife, his son, his parents, and the kingdom, renouncing all worldly pleasures. And for the sake of all sentient beings, he engaged in ascetic path, searching for the ultimate truth to end the suffering of samsara. He then became a homeless and wandering yogi seeking the truth. After going through many years of hardships and practice, Prince Siddhartha finally attained complete and perfect state of Buddhahood, the enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, which is located in Bihar state of India. So if you like details, you can read his life story, how he went through the hardship and what he did at first after he left. Also, this is very concise, just to make a good connection of my beginning of my teaching. That's why I'm telling it most shortest way of Buddha's life, okay? At that time, he became a Buddha, perfect Buddha, a fully enlightened one. Since Prince Siddhartha was born as the prince of the Shakyas, after his enlightenment, he was known as Shakyamuni Buddha. We now know that after going through many years of hardship and practices, Prince Siddhartha became a Buddha, an enlightened being. Now the question is, what really is a Buddha? What does the term Buddha actually mean? The term Buddha, term, pronounce okay, T-E-R-M, term, okay, term, pronounce okay? The term, okay, Buddha is a Sanskrit word, and it is usually translated into English as awakened one. In Tibetan, Buddha is pronounced as Sangye, which is also my name, but I'm not real Sangye yet, okay? I'm not fake Sangye also because I have Buddha nature. So I'm somewhere in between. Just kidding. Okay, so yeah, it's Sangye, which has two syllables, Sang and Ge. The first syllable, Sang, means to be purified or to be cleared or to be cleansed or to be awakened and so forth. And the second syllable, Ge, means to have fully increased or to have fully bloomed or to have fully flourished, or to have fully thrived, or to have fully developed, and so forth. It has so many meanings. So, therefore, Buddha or Sangye means someone who has already purified all the defilements and awakened from the sleep of ignorance. That is the meaning of the first syllable, Sang. And the second syllable, Ge, means someone who has already fully actualized the primordial wisdom, someone who has already fully bloomed the extraordinary wisdom in his or her mind, which realizes all phenomena, all dharma, as they really are in the ultimate reality. That is what the second word, Ge, means. In short, Buddha or Sangye means someone who possesses true perfection, we say, the perfection of abandonment and the perfection of realization. When we explain Buddha, we usually say true perfection. Someone who is completely free of any shortcoming and full of perfect qualities. To elaborate a little bit more about Buddha, a Buddha is a person who is completely free from all defilements and the true obscurations. The true obscuration are the obscuration of the kleshas and the cognitive obscurations. If you want to know exactly what they mean, then you have to go through a more elaborated studies of Buddhism. The obscuration, but I'm saying a little bit here what they mean. The obscuration of klesha is the afflictive emotions, emotional obscuration, such as the disturbing emotions of the five poison, like anger, desire, stupidity, pride, and envy, and so forth. And the cognitive obscuration is the subtle obscuration of dualistic thinking, holding on to the concepts of subject, object, and action, which can be completely purified only through the Vajra-like samadhi at the end of the 10th bhumi. There is nothing that, generally speaking again, there is nothing that Buddha Buddhas, many Buddhas, not only Buddhas, many Buddhas. So I should say plural, Buddhas, do not know, because they have completely purified the obscuration that obscures one from correctly seeing things. And they have completely awakened from the sleep of ignorance. Therefore, they know everything of the past, present, and future directly, without any problem. And of course, Buddhas possess great compassion and loving kindness, which are karuna and maitri. Maybe I'm not going to tonight, because I always want to give you the Buddhist definition of love and compassion when we say that. Because this, when you are using in Buddhist teaching, then these are using as an English translation of Tibetan word chamba and ingje, or in Sanskrit word karuna and maitreya. So we have to give you that definition of that word. But maybe we'll do some other time, not today. Which are completely impartial and unbiased, embracing all living beings without discrimination. The Buddhas benefit all sentient beings by emanating various forms throughout the entire universes of the billion worlds. And they benefit all sentient beings by bestowing their blessings on the minds of those beings fortunate enough to receive the blessing from Buddhas. Through receiving Buddha's blessing, all beings, even the lowest animals, the lowest, okay, sometimes develop peaceful and virtuous state of mind. Eventually, through meeting and emanation of the Buddhas in the form of a guru or teacher, everyone, all sentient beings, will have an opportunity to enter the path to liberation and enlightenment. Through the power of their great compassion, Buddhas spontaneously do whatever is appropriate to benefit others. They don't need to think about what the best way is to help living beings, because they naturally and effortlessly act in the most beneficial way. Just as the sun does not need to motivate itself to radiate light and heat, but does so simply because light and the heat are its very nature. So the Buddhas do not need to motivate themselves or to benefit others, but to do so simply because being beneficial is their very nature. It is mentioned very clearly in the Uttara Tantra Shastra by Maitreyaнаth when he said, this is quotation from the next Buddha. We said the fifth Buddha is the Maitreyaнаth. Buddha, he says, as the sun shining its own light simultaneously and without thought makes lotus flower open and their petals and brings ripening to other crops. So the son of the Tathagata is Sanskrit word which means Buddha, manifest, shedding its rays of the sacred Dharma on the lotus-like beings to be trained without harboring any thought or idea. And this is the way how Buddha benefits sentient beings, without any conceptual thought. Like the reflection of the moon that effortlessly appear in any body of still water, not moving water, a Buddha's emanation spontaneously appear wherever living beings' minds are capable of perceiving them. Buddhas can emanate and manifest in any form to help sentient beings. They can manifest as women or men. They can even manifest as animals when necessary to help others. Unless we are a Buddha ourselves, we cannot possibly judge who is an emanation of Buddha and who is not. If we can put the teachings of Buddha into practice in our day-to-day life, then we will definitely attain the state of complete and perfect Buddhahood. The historical Buddha Shakyamuni, with his limitless compassion and loving kindness, traveled from places to places for many years after his enlightenment. He dedicated the rest of his life to guiding confused beings, helping countless of them achieve nirvana. Again, when we say nirvana, there are three types of nirvana. We'll explain maybe another time, not today. After empowering and appointing one of his senior disciples named Mahakasyapa to continue the Sangha's activities as his regent, the Buddha entered into parinirvana and Kushinaga at the age of 80. Now I'm done talking about the first Ratna, which is Buddha, and the second Ratna is the Dharma. Okay, different Buddhist traditions have slightly different records about the time the Buddha Shakyamuni was on the earth. As a result, the years of his birth and parinirvana may vary among them, yet all tradition and school agree that he lived on our earth for 80 years. That is a concise introduction of the first Ratna, the Buddha. This is just a glimpse of the life of the Buddha, and it would be really wonderful if you could read about him in more detail whenever you have time. Indeed, merely reading about the lives of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is a great practice because they are incredibly impressive and provide a great amount of inspiration. Not only that, but it also purifies our negativities and purifies our obscuration and accumulates great merit just by reading the life of Buddha and Bodhisattvas. Therefore, I also strongly recommend you visit the sacred Buddhist places around the world as well. If you are a Buddhist, you are especially encouraged to go to the 4 great sacred places at least once in your lifetime, which are the 4 great sacred places are Lumbini, where the Buddha Shakyamuni was born, Bodh Gaya, where he achieved the complete and perfect state of Buddhahood, and he became an enlightened being, Saranath, where he gave his first teaching, and Kushinagar, where he entered into parinirvana. And then Lumbini is in Nepal now, and the other 3 are in India. So it's not very difficult to visit there. So it is simply impossible for me to describe all the excellent qualities that Buddha possessed, because their excellent qualities, such as their great compassion, loving kindness, wisdom, and power, are totally beyond the conceptual thought of ordinary being like myself. So I think I will stop talking about the Buddha here today, and I will move to the next jewel, next Ratna, the sacred Dharma. How much time we have? We still have 1 hour. So half an hour for each Ratna. Okay? Now, the second jewel or second Ratna, the sacred Dharma. The sacred Dharma is actually the teaching about the path through which Prince Siddhartha achieved the state of the complete and perfect Buddhahood, and he taught for the benefit of all sentient beings, including ourselves. Generally speaking, the sacred Dharma consists of 2 categories, which are the spiritual Dharma, scriptural, right? Scriptural, okay? Dharma and the Dharma of realization. Well, now let me say a little bit about the where, when, and how Buddha Shakyamuni taught the sacred Dharma, the path through which he achieved the perfect and complete state of Buddhahood, enlightenment. Right after his enlightenment, the Buddha Shakyamuni said, "Substitute Vesadhumaje, Duzitawu Shoshiko Sula Tenyo Koro Minube, Minanaki Nebracha." He said that. Did you get it? Just kidding. Just kidding. So let me read the translation. It says, Buddha, right after he did not teach, right after he became a Buddha. And then rather he said, I found a nectar-like Dharma, which is profound, peaceful, free from elaboration, luminous, and unconditioned. But nobody will understand it, no matter to whom I teach it. So I am going to remain in the forest without talking. That's what he said. I think it didn't mean that he didn't know people will understand it, but this is what we say. He just want to show the value of Dharma. And until someone requests him, Dharma, if he just did without the request, then people might think it's not very valuable or something like that. That's the reason why he said that. Otherwise, we also understand a little bit what he said. Right? So when he, that's the way. And His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, usually says here, when Buddha said this, before he taught, actually His Holiness explained this line in Tibetan. He says, Buddha already indicated that he's going to turn three wheel of Dharma. He says, Sabshi, which is profound and peaceful, was the indication of the first wheel of Dharma, and the free from elaboration is the indication of the second wheel of Dharma, which is mostly about the emptiness and so forth. And the luminous and unconditioned is the indication of the last third wheel of the Dharma. That's how His Holiness Dalai Lama explained, and that makes lots of sense to me. But anyway, Buddha did not. Right after he became a teacher, he did not teach. Right after he became an enlightened being, he did not teach. He just said this, and he remained silent in a forest. Then how he did was he said, and he just remained in a great samadhi for 7 weeks without giving any teaching after he achieved the perfect and complete enlightenment. And on the 49th day, which is the last day of the 7th week, Brahma, you know Brahma, right? And Indra came down to the human realm from their God's realm or Deva realm. And with a white conch and a golden wheel, requested Buddha Shakyamuni to teach, saying, then how did they request? This is the quotation from what the Brahma and the Indra says. Oh Buddha, treasure of compassion, living beings are like blind people in constant danger of falling into the lower realms. Other than you, there's no protector in this world. Therefore, we beseech you, please rise from samadhi and turn the wheel of Dharma. So at this request, again, this is a very concise way of telling you. We could go there, how they keep requesting and so on. It could be very detailed, but I'm just going through a very concise way because just this kind of just short introduction. So at this request, made by Brahma and Indra, Buddha Shakyamuni gave his first teaching in Deer Park at Saranath, India. And this is known as the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. So if you ask what he taught at that time, then in this discourse, he taught the Four Noble Truths, which are very well known. You all know what. And then, again, let me say the only name. The Noble Truth of Suffering, the Noble Truth of the Origin of Suffering, the Noble Truth of the Cessation of Suffering, and the Noble Truth of the Path. He also taught at that time the interdependent nature of reality, or in Sanskrit we say pratita samuddapada, and also he taught the karmic cause and effect and so on during the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. And these teachings, which were taught during the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, are the basic practices for all Buddhist traditions. Because we have many different traditions, like Buddha. I will say a little bit later. Anyway, this is how Buddha started teaching, and that was called the first turning of the wheel. Subsequently, okay? I don't know why. I just get doubt on my pronunciation. He turned 2 more wheels of Dharma. At Vulture Peak Mountain in Rajagriha, which is not very far from Bodh Gaya, he gave another teaching known as the second turning of the wheel of Dharma. In this discourse, he taught mainly about emptiness and selflessness, which are the essence of the Prajnaparamita Sutta. That's why His Holiness Dalai Lama says, when Buddha says, peaceful, profound, peaceful, and free of elaboration. And then peace of elaboration is the indication of this, the second turning of the wheel. And there followed a period of many years of teaching at different places. such as Vaishali and so on. The teachings of this spirit are known as the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, during which he taught a variety, right? Variety, many different of subjects, including the three natures, Tathagata Garbha, and so forth. Yeah. The three nature, if you want to know, maybe I just skip this. Where it's kind of too profound, and we don't have time for. Okay, to elaborate three nature. Anyway, three nature are the three things that that the mind only school divided all the phenomena in this category and so forth. So this is a very profound and vast subject. Anyway, to elaborate a little bit more about the second Ratna, the teaching of the Shakyamuni Buddha, the sacred Dharma. Okay, the Dharma is I'm now telling you the purpose of the Dharma. The Dharma is the only medicine for the sickness of the three poison, which are attachment, anger, and ignorance. Due to these poisons, all sentient beings are suffering unbearably. How do you pronounce it? Okay, in samsara. And the second dharma, the sacred dharma, is the only medicine that can completely cure these sicknesses. Of course, I'm talking from the Buddhist point of view again. Okay. Therefore, those sentient beings who are sick with a samsaric illness and wish to enjoy the perfect health of nirvana should always rely on the medication of dharma, the teaching of the Shakyamuni Buddha. The Bodhisattva Shantideva said, I'm not going to read the Tibetan because you don't understand. I'm going to read the direct English translation. The Shantideva said, you know who Shantideva is, right? Most of you know. The only medicine for the suffering of beings and the source of all happiness and pleasure are the teachings of the Buddha. May it remain for long together with its honor or respect. So, and also Buddha himself said, it is said in the sutra, noble son or daughter, you should consider yourself as someone who is sick. The Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, should be considered as medicine. The spiritual friend, the teacher who teaches the Dharma, should be considered as a skillful physician or doctor, and practicing the Dharma precisely should be considered as the method of medical treatment. That's the purpose of. Anyway, for any type of Buddhist practice, the only purpose is to tame our own mind. Every physical and verbal action we do would naturally be virtuous if we could tame our mind and always make it full of positive qualities. The Buddha said in the sutra, now again, I'm just going to, I have all three languages there, Sanskrit, Tibetan, and English. Let me just read the English. Don't perform any non-virtuous action, perfectly cultivate virtuous action, tame the mind completely. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Again, there are many different versions of the English translation, so I think this is very close to the Tibetan one, so I choose this one. So, generally speaking, now Buddhism is a very vast and profound subject because it is not just a religion in the notion of our mundane understanding of religion. It is also a science, the science of mind, and it contains many great philosophies. In Tibetan, the teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni is called Nangdun Rigpa, which means signs of inner meaning or signs of inner reality. That's how we call in Tibetan, the teaching of Buddha. And Buddhist people are called Nangba. Nangba means the one who usually deal with inside. So I just say, which literally means insider, not outsider, insider. We'll deal with all our mind, try to increase the positive quality of mind. Because even though there are many vast and profound philosophies in Buddhism concerning the nature of the outer world, it mainly deals with our mind. That's the reason why it is called Nangdun Rigpa or Nangba, the science of inner reality and the insider. I think now I'm giving you one modern quotation, okay, not always from the Buddha's Bodhisattva. I think that's why Albert Einstein, Einstein, his name is very not easy to pronounce. Einstein, right? Einstein, yeah. Okay, I think that's why Albert Einstein, who is regarded as the father of modern physics, said, quotation mark, if there is any religion that would cope, right? C-O-P-E, cope, pronounce, okay, with modern scientific needs, it will be Buddhism. Well, again, I would say a little bit more. Well, relatively speaking, genuinely practicing Buddhism helps us. I say genuinely. If you just go to center and hang around, that doesn't really help. You have to be really serious. That's why I say genuinely practicing Buddhism help us develop all positive aspects of our mind, such as honesty, loving kindness, compassion, peace of mind, and so on. And of course, as a result of that, we will have a peaceful and happy life as long as we are alive. And not only for ourselves, when we are peaceful and happy, it also creates a peaceful and harmonious situation for the people around us. I would say that is the temporary fruition of being a Buddhist for us. To have a peaceful and happy life for ourselves and to create the peaceful and harmonious atmosphere for others in the temporary fruition of being a Buddhist is, of course, for the benefit of all sentient beings. To achieve the complete and perfect state of Buddhahood is the ultimate fruition of being a Buddhist. Ultimately speaking, practicing Buddhism introduces, singular, right? Introduces. You are learning Dharma, I'm learning English. Ultimately speaking, practicing Buddhism introduces us to the nature of our mind, which in reality is Buddha. That is why the teaching of the Buddha is called the science of inner meaning, or Nangdung Rigpa. And the people who are practicing Buddha Dharma are called Nangpa, or insider. Okay, one important thing here. When we try to learn something in Buddhism, it is extremely important to know the idea of two truths, which are called relative truth or conventional truth, and ultimate truth or absolute truth. It would be very confusing if we mix up the two truths. Let me tell you a story about how confusing it would be if we mixed up the two truths. Once, someone asked a question of one of my teachers. Should I say question true or question of? Someone asked a question of one of my teacher when he was giving a teaching on the Heart Sutra, emptiness. His name is Lokchen Pondor Rinpoche, because Lama Khe didn't know, and then some of you others also know. He's a very well-known teacher in West. So the person said to my teacher, how could you possibly sit on the throne if it is emptiness? That was the question. So that was the question he asked to my teacher, who was teaching the view of emptiness at that time. So we can see from this question how confusing it could be if we don't know how to differentiate the two truths. In this question, what the student was trying to do was to put the relative teacher on an ultimate throne. Right? So I don't think we could ever do that, no matter how hard we try. What we could do is put a relative teacher on a relative throne or an ultimate teacher on ultimate throne. If throne is emptiness, then the teacher is also emptiness. So that's why we have to be very clear. Ultimately, they are inseparable, but we are not that level yet. So for us, they are not inseparable. They are separate. They are separable. They are separate things for the time being. Therefore, it is extremely important for us to differentiate the true truths when we are studying Buddhist philosophies. When we talk about karma, impermanence, the shortcomings of samsara, the 12 links of interdependent nature, and so forth, we are mainly speaking from the relative point of view. When we talk about the emptiness, selflessness, and I should say selflessnesses, because they're true selflessnesses, So selflessnesses, okay, and so forth. Then we are mainly speaking from the ultimate point of view. So that is one very important thing at the beginning when we are trying to study something. The ultimate truth is what we need to realize in the long run, but we must rely on the relative truth in order to understand and realize the ultimate truth. That's why we must respect the law of karma and practice it very precisely. We cannot just, by knowing everything's emptiness, ultimately, we can ignore the karma or this thing. Because even we know intellectually, we are not there yet. So karma works perfectly for us. So that's why we have to follow the karma precisely. Even though, from the ultimate point of view, all our daily experiences are untrue and they are no different than a dream. As long as we keep sleeping on the bed of samsara, they are very true and completely solid experiences in the relative truth. Or maybe we can say in the relative world. Therefore, we must try to wake ourselves up as soon as possible from the sleep of ignorance, if we don't want to have the terrible nightmare of samsara again and again. Relatively speaking, there is one common view of all religions in the world. Even though I don't know much about the other religions, but I think all religions speak about love and all the good things, in the relative truth. And then I also don't know for sure if they have this different system of saying relative to ultimate truth or not. But anyway, I know all of religions speak love, compassion, honesty, everything. So therefore, I said, relatively speaking, there is one common view of all religions in the world, that is to produce global peace and shared humanity, of which the main causes are mutual respect, honesty, loving kindness, compassion, and so on. Therefore, as long as we live on earth, all religions in the world should always be in harmony and respect each other, so we can cooperate in order to accomplish this common goal for the benefit of all sentient beings. Somehow, now I'm going to say a little bit different between the Buddhist and the other religion, basic idea, using a modern example, not the traditional example, okay? Somehow, from the ultimate point of view, Buddhism is a non-theistic one. Non-theistic, right? Non-theistic. Whereas most other great religions of the world are theistic. But honestly speaking, I don't know much about, but I think that's as far as I know. Therefore, I think a modern analogy which represents the view of such theistic tradition would be someone outside yourself is holding the keyboard of your computer. And you have to please him or her constantly to request that the right program shows up on the screen of your life. This is my modern example, okay? I don't know if it works or not. Sometimes the traditional examples are not very easy to understand, That's why if it doesn't work, that's also okay. Okay, so in the Buddhist tradition, you yourself are holding the keyboard. And all you need to do in order to assess the right program is to learn about the command keys. So then if you ask how to learn the command keys in Buddhism, then Gambopa said again, Gambopa said. In Tibetan, we say Gambopa, but I follow your pronunciation. You say Gambopa, right? Yeah, Gambopa. Gambopa said, the combination of listening, contemplation, and meditation on the Dharma is an unmistaken essential point. So these are the three command keys that you have to learn in Buddhism. There are basically three steps that one has to go through to get the proper insight into the command keys of the Buddhist computer. So listening means studying, contemplating means thinking again and again on that until you get the certainty, and then meditation is meditation. You know that meditation. So once you have gone through these three processes, you will come to know the command keys to the most wonderful program in the world called realization. Okay. It is the realization of the ultimate truth, dharmatha, which you can enjoy forever on the screen of your life and every life to come. Okay. So I'm not criticizing any other religion for sure, and I never intended to do so. I respect so much because every religion is, benefiting countless sentient beings in different ways. But I'm trying to show the differences between them and Buddhism, so people can choose whatever, because everyone has different karmic connection. There is no one medicine that can cure all the disease, like that. So some people feel safer having someone else hold the keyboard for them, while others would like to have full rights to keep the keyboard on their own, Therefore, I think it is nice for people to know the differences from the beginning so they can follow in whichever way they feel most comfortable. To have someone else keep the keyboard for them or to have the keyboard for themselves. It is true that there are lots of vast and profound philosophies in Buddhism that we can study, and that it is a non-theistic religion in the ultimate sense, but that is not the only way to see it. On the other hand, from a relative perspective, Buddhism can also be viewed as simply a religious path, if you prefer to not go through the vast studies of those great philosophies. If you feel more comfortable, we can also just be a faithful believers in Buddhism. So, if you want to be a Buddhist, yet you still want to have someone else keeping your keyboard for you, I think that's completely fine for a certain period of time, as far as the relative truth is concerned. However, in the ultimate sense, then you have to be able to keep and handle your own keyboard. Until you reach the state where you yourself can handle your own keyboard, the keyboard holders are available for you in the Buddhist tradition too. I think that's the difference. I just want to say the difference between the Buddhism and the other religion. With that example, I don't know you understand or not what I said. But anyway, I'm done reading what I've written down. Okay, the only purpose of studying the vast and profound philosophy of the Buddhist tradition is to gain confidence and certainty in ultimate truth, which is the absolute and ultimate nature of all phenomena, all dharma. Therefore, if you are already certain about the ultimate nature of all phenomena and naturally have a strong sense of confidence in it from the very beginning, then you don't really have to bother yourself by going through too many studies. You can start practicing right away once you receive the practice instruction from your guru. In Buddhist history, there were many individuals who, because of their good karma and merit accumulated in previous life, attained enlightenment right away without going through too much study and practice. In Buddhism, you have the option to be a simple religious person, a great philosopher, or to be both a great philosopher and religious person as well. Okay, now we still have time because the Dharma is the most important one. We still have time. Let me say a little more about the Dharma. All the Dharma teaching that have been taught by Buddha Shakyamuni more than 2,500 years ago, can be summarized into 3 yanas and 4 philosophical schools. The 3 yanas are Shavakayana, Pratyeka Buddhayana, and Bodhisattva yana. Sometimes the 3 yanas are counted in a different way, which are Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. No matter how we count them, they are the same. When we count the first way, then Mahayana and Vajrayana are included in the Bodhisattva yana. If we count the second way, the Shavakayana and Pratikayana Pratika Buddhayana are included in the Hinayana. So it doesn't matter. In the text, mostly we count that way. We say Shavakayana, Pratikayana Buddha, and then Bodhisattvayana. But in general, we usually say Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. So we are talking exactly the same thing, not different at all. Now, the 4 philosophical schools are Vaibhasika. These are all Sanskrit words, just a name. I don't know what's better to Sanskrit rather than Tibetan. Anyway, it's not English. But that's how the translators are doing, so I'm following their way. Okay, so Vaibhasika, Sautantrika, Chitramatra, and Madhyamika. So all the teachings could be summarized into these 4 philosophical schools and the 3 yanas. Each of these yanas and philosophical schools has a complete path that leads to liberation, each with their own particular view, meditation, and contact, as well as their own ground path and fruition. There are also a lot of subdivisions. In each of these yanas and schools. In my opinion, it would be almost impossible to have enough time in one lifetime to study all of these subdivisions in detail. We could spend our entire life studying them, yet would likely never find an end to their studies. So what is important here is, I'm giving you a quotation from Adisha. Once, when 3 geishas, 3 geishas. Geisha is a title, same like Khenpo. We use in Giluk tradition, they use like geisha. In Kagyu Nyingma, we say Khenpo like that. So 3 geishas requested him to teach them about Buddhist logic. A great Indian scholar, Atisha, said, the non-Buddhists, which are, we usually call Tirthikas as against Sanskrit word, which are non-Buddhist philosophers. And Buddhists themselves have many different systems of logic. But they are all just chains of discursive thought. There is no need for all of those innumerable ideas. Life is too short to go through all of them. Now is the time to reduce these things to their essence. That's what Adisa said. Then again, the one Geshe asked, how does one reduce them to their essence? Then Adisha said, by training in bodhicitta with loving kindness and compassion for all sentient beings throughout space, and by making strenuous effort in the true accumulation for the benefit of all those beings, and by dedicating all the sources of future good, thus create to the perfect enlightenment of each and every being, and finally recognizing that all things are empty by nature, like dreams or magical illusion. That's what Adisa said. Adisha also said to the great Tibetan translator, Rinchen Zangpo, his very famous translation, letter, you should find, this is a quotation from Adisha again, you should find the essential point common to all the teachings and practice that way. Therefore, the most important thing now is from Khenpo Sangye. Now I'm saying, okay. Therefore, the most important thing is that we should know how to receive the essence of the teachings and put them into practice for our daily life in order to make ourselves and others be better human beings in this world and to help oneself and others understand the inseparability of compassion and emptiness in the ultimate nature sense. From the perspective of relative truth, the purpose of being a Buddhist is to help oneself and others become nice, gentle, kind, compassionate, and generous human beings. From the perspective of ultimate truth, the purpose of being a Buddhist is to attain complete freedom from samsara and become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. If we cannot put the Dharma into practice, then it doesn't really help oneself or anybody else that much, regardless of how great a scholar we may be in Buddhist philosophy. Maybe we can get a good job giving lectures in the universities. I mean, it is a wonderful job, but that is not really the reason why we follow the footstep of Buddha. Our aim of being Buddhist should always be to achieve Buddhahood, the complete freedom from samsara, in order to benefit all sentient beings. Therefore, it is extremely important for us to try to bring the Dharma into our daily practice, regardless of how little our knowledge of Buddhism might be. Each of the three yanas, I think it's also good. Each of the three yanas and four philosophical schools has their particular definition of view, meditation, and contact, and they explain them in slightly different ways. However, in general, the Buddhist view, meditation, and contact commonly shared among all Buddhist traditions are as taught in the Treasury of Knowledge by Jamgon Khenpo. You know by Jamgon Khenpo, right? He says, the view is that of the four seal of view signifying the Buddha. This, I always have a problem with translation of this. Do you understand? There's four. This is what the translation says. The view is that of the four seal of the view signifying the Buddhas. Which means, I have little commentary down there. I will let you. Okay. The meditation is that which could be a remedy for the peak of cyclic existence, and the contact is that which is free from two extremes. So Jamgon Khenpo said this is the common Buddhist view, Buddhist meditation, and Buddhist contact. So to explain a little more about them, the four seals of the view signifying the Buddhas mean everything that is conditioned or composite is impermanent. So if you are convinced with this idea, anything that is conditioned or composite is impermanent, then you have one view. He mentioned four of them, okay? And then second one is everything that is contaminated or defiled is suffering. And all phenomena are empty and selfless. And nirvana is peace and virtue. So if you are convinced with these four ideas, then you have the Buddhist view. If you are not convinced yet, then you don't have the pure Buddhist view yet. If you have little doubt, that's still okay, good. Then you can, as I said, every individual different, and from our some people have more merit accumulated in the past, and some have not. So that's why for some people it's easier to understand these things. For them, some not very easy. So if we understand it right away, then we don't go through the reasoning, anything you need to prove this the true teaching. But if we are not convinced just by the word, then Buddhism is, again, as I said, not just a religion that is just followed by faith, but you can study and put lots of reasoning. Then you will eventually, then you will become convinced with the idea of saying anything that is conditioned is impermanent, anything that is contaminated is suffering, and all phenomena are empty and selflessness and peace and virtue. Then once you get a full certainty, then you have the Buddhist view. That's what the Buddhist view is. Okay. Okay. empty. Nirvana is okay. All traditions of Buddhism, the three yanas and four schools, assert this view, which is the fourth seal of the view, signifying the Buddhas. The ways how they define them vary between the three yanas and the four schools. They all speak in slightly different ways. We assert and follow the way that is explained by the Prasangika tradition of Madhyamika school. Okay, as I said, of course, we also Buddhists, right? We are Buddhists. Therefore, we must also accept this view. And then how we accept is, as I said, the three different yanas and the four different philosophical school explained in different way. And the way how we follow is the way that is explained by Prasangika Madhyamika. Again, when you say Madhyamika, there's so many different view of Madhyamika again. And then from there, again, if go particularly for the Kagyupa, then we say Shendong. We accept as a Shendong view. So these are too much philosophical things, so we have no time for that. Okay. Okay, I have to say one. I don't know if this tradition still exists or not in India. When we talk about the Sharvakayana, then after Buddha passed away, after a few years, then Sharvakayana was divided into 18 different schools. 18 different schools. And one of them is called, in Tibetan, we call Ne Mabuba. Ne Mabuba. In Sanskrit, it's called Vastriputriya. Vastriputriya. This view, this school doesn't accept totally selflessness. Except this one, then all other. And this says there's a self, but this school speak the self different way than how the non-Buddhists speak. And then they call it inexpressible self. Cannot express, but there's a self. Except that, all other Buddhists accept this view. Okay? Okay? I'm not going... okay. Now, let me go to the meditation that could be a remedy for the peak of cyclic existence means cyclic is samsara, cyclic existence is samsara. Then, when we talk relatively again, when we talk the relatively, usually I think you know more in this way. We say sixth realm of samsara, right? Most of you know that. But sometimes samsara is also divided in three dhatus. But in English, we have only the word say with three realm. When we divide in that way, then we say form realm, desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. So highest one is the formal realms. And then it has again 4 different levels. And then the highest one is called the peak of cyclic existence. So what it means is, until that level, even through practice of non-Buddhist meditation, you can achieve. So if it is uncommon Buddhist meditation, then it should be leading you completely out of samsara. That's what it means. When you say the meditation that could be a remedy for the peak of cyclic existence, means that any meditation that could lead us completely out of samsara is considered to be an extraordinary Buddhist meditation. Okay? That's clear, right? Okay. Then I think I have written too much. I think I should keep going down. Okay. Okay. Because I'm that job at the okay. Where is the okay, I don't want to say that. Okay, then this one. The conduct is that which is free from true stream, which it means that it does not fall into either of the two extreme of asceticism, right? Asceticism, or excessively expensive livelihood. Do you understand? Yeah, that Buddha says you don't have to go through too much austerity, right? Austerity, hardship. Or also you should not be distracted by too much luxury lifestyle. That's what it means. This is mainly talking from Sutrayana practice, okay? That is to say, it is the abandonment of two extremes which consists of desiring alms and practicing austerities. The reason why there are so many, okay, that's it. So if you are Buddhist, your general conduct should not be, putting too much effort to have a luxury life. Also, it's not necessary for you to go to unnecessarily under hardship. That's what he said. So balance, you have to. Okay, now I'm telling you here a little bit. The reason why there are so many different yanas and philosophical schools within Buddhist itself is because of the different capabilities and interest of the sentient beings. Buddha taught them in order to guide different types of beings. But ultimately, they all lead you to the same result. It is just like there are many different routes to the same destination. For example, if you want to go to Nepal, I put Nepal because it's my hometown. You can put anywhere. If you want to go to Nepal or Tibet for pilgrimage, then we can either take an aeroplane or ferry, train, car, bus, whatever. There are so many. We can even walk there and swim there, if you want. The only difference is the time it takes. But we will eventually get there. However, we certainly don't have to take all of them. Taking one vehicle is good enough for our travel, right? Our journey. So, before we start our journey, we should seriously consider which one is the best, safest, and most comfortable way for us, for individuals, because every individual is different to get there, and we should take that. Same way in Buddhism also, if you feel more connected to Vajrayana, that's good for you. If you feel more like Sutrayana or even like Theravada, whatever you feel more connected, that's better for you for the time being, Like that. Similarly, in our spiritual journey, we can take any form of Buddhist path that we feel connects the most to our own capability and interests and make it our main practice, while at the same time respecting all others. Okay, I think I should stop talking about the second Ratna here and move to the next Ratna, the Sangha. We say Sangha, okay? Then it will be three jewels. The third jewel or third Ratna is the Sangha. Again, Sangha is Sanskrit word. In Tibetan we say Gendun. Sangha actually literally means just a committee, a community or assembly. Assemble. Yeah, assemble. That's the meaning of the word. So it means the followers of Buddha. Generally speaking, the Sangha consists, maybe I have not written anything about. That is what I have been talking about. Dharma is mainly, I have been talking only about the scriptural Dharma. At the very beginning, I said they are two different. Then what is the realization? The Dharma of realization is, after you going through study and practicing, relying on the scriptural Dharma, then you will have, special realization or experience and so forth. And that's what we call the Dharma of the realization. Okay, then, of course, we can go again. There are so many things we can talk, but that's enough for now. Okay, generally speaking, the Sangha consists of two categories again, which are ordinary Sangha and noble Sangha. So noble Sangha means those who have already achieved the path of seeing. You know path of seeing, right? We have when you talk about the Buddhist philosophy, the progressive path, then we have 5 paths and 10 bhumis. And then path of seeing is the third one. First one is we say path of accumulation and path of joining or conjunction. There are many, and then third one is path of seeing. When you achieve the path of seeing, that time the starting of realizing the emptiness directly. But still, you can progress a lot. So those Sangha, those practitioners who have already achieved that level is called the noble Sangha. For example, those bodhisattvas, like Chenrezig, Manjushri, these are all noble sangha. They are on the either 10th level, Tet Bhumi, and so forth, And then, okay, sangha means who has already achieved the path of seeing, and above that. And ordinary sangha means those individuals who have not yet attained the path of Arya. So path of Arya means, again, when we say the Bodhisattva level, we are only talking from the Mahayana point of view. So here, the Noble Sangha also include that Arhathood. If you achieve already Arhathood through the Shavakayana practice or Pratika, and then you also become already the Arya Sangha, Noble Sangha. Okay. And to elaborate a little bit, we can become a sangha. What is it? To a little bit. Oh yeah. How can you become a follower of Buddha? How can we become Buddha? Okay. Anyone in the world can become a follower of the Buddha because there are no restriction at all to become a Buddhist. No restriction on religious tradition, background, caste, sex, lifestyle, anything. To be a Buddhist, we certainly don't have to be very rich. And similarly, it is also absolutely unnecessary to prevent ourselves from being rich. So it's okay, if you're rich and not rich, you can become a Buddhist, okay? No matter who we are and no matter what kind of life we may be leading right now, we can certainly follow the footstep of the Buddha and become a Sangha member. In order for us to become followers of the Buddha, the most essential and important thing is to understand his teachings well and practice the Dharma genuinely in our everyday life. That's the most important. Just intellectually knowing the Dharma is not good enough for us. This is called a dry understanding, and it will not take us anywhere. If we cannot put the Dharma into practice, it only supports the strengthening of our ego. Clear, right? Okay. If we want to be a genuine follower of the Buddha and gain beneficial results for ourselves and others from the Dharma, we have to genuinely practice the Dharma in our daily life. Belief or disbelief in the next life is a different issue. However, since we all believe in this life and we all want to be a peaceful and happy life, the teachings of the Buddha will definitely help us make our dream come true. Okay, what time is it? I didn't know. I didn't notice. I wrote so many, and then I don't want to miss them because I put already so much effort writing them. Okay, let me read. We still have 3 minutes. Okay, as far as livelihood is concerned, there are basically two ways of becoming a follower of the Buddha. Becoming an ardent follower, example like me, and becoming a lay follower, example most of you. For example, the best way to be an ardent the best way to be an ardent follower is what I said. Yeah, okay. And the best way I think is to be an ardent follower is becoming a monk or a nun, renouncing the world and living on alms and donations. In that way, we have more free time and better chance to fully dedicate ourselves towards the practice of the Dharma. Whether it is a full or novice ordination, we can be a monk or a nun in any Buddhist tradition by receiving the monastic vows. Due to previous karmic connection, people are interested in different Buddhist traditions. However, as far as my understanding of Buddhism is concerned, they are essentially all the same. So, as long as we strive to be genuine Buddhist practitioner, it doesn't really matter which tradition we belong to. There are Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Theravada's tradition from countries such as Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, India, Nepal, Cambodia, Laos, and Indonesia, and so forth. The Buddha did not have any copyright of his teaching. So it has no culture and it is no one's property. It belongs to the one who practices best. I'm trying to be westernized teacher, but not fully yet. So I'm using I'm using this kind of things, to make it more accessible, right, for the Western people. If I use too much traditional example, it doesn't make sense sometimes. So that's why I'm saying that. So yeah, Buddha did not have any copyright. When I mean what I mean when I say the best way of following the Buddha is by becoming an ordained monk or nun, is that it is only the best way if we can properly keep every rule of morality and be genuine ordained. Otherwise, it would be better for us to just be lay practitioner and live off our own earnings so we don't misuse the offerings of the faithful donors. Okay. So now it's actually 8:30. We'll stop here, right? Okay, maybe we just stop here then. I hope most of you will come back tomorrow. Then maybe we can continue a little bit from here before we start the main subject. Tomorrow we're going to teach what we call the Tagpo lineage prayer. Okay. Okay, I personally do a short dedication prayer, okay? Sonamdeye tamje zikbanye tomne nyeben ranam pamjene kyaka naji balab thukbai sebe sole rogun yondro. Let's do little meditation before we say good night. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you will come the next 3 evenings again. We will have until Thursday evening, right? Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Khenpo. Yeah. Okay. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. This is a special occasion because Khenpo Sangye is developing the ability to teach in English, which is amazing. And so happy that you were here for one of these inaugural teachings. We'll be here again tomorrow evening. You can come anytime after the doors open at 6:30. And I do need any help tidying up tonight? Nope? Okay. All right. Well, then I will thank you very much for coming and drive safely.